first time watching AEW full through in a minute, so let me contain myself, please. But this show was a lot of fun, bro. We about to get into this. We got people dropping dudes with one punch. We got a bonkers main event with like 20 people coming out the woodwork. That was crazy. And then we got some heel, a young buckers. It is about to get lit up in here. My name is Jordan Moser, and this is your AEW Dynamite Recap and Review. Kick off the night with the first couple of segments. We see the Young Bucks, new and refined, in the sit down, just talking about coming to the dark side. Pretty much, they say they chose friendship over everything else that they've been through since they come to AEW. They've been a little soft, a lot less hungry, and a little content with what's going on right now, even though they hold those AEW Tag Team Championships. But now they're no longer content. Now they're hungry. Now they're going after this entire tag team division's next, and they're doing it as part of their new little family, the new elite, as you would say. So nice little sit down, specifically Matt Jackson just talking about that. And then we see a little bit later on, after the show kicks off, Mike Tyson is confronted by MJF. MJF wants him to pretty much turn on Chris Jericho and cheat in his bout against Dax Harwood's later. He gives him a blank check, and Mike didn't like that. He made fun of his tattoo on his face. He took the check, he ate that joint up and spit it back at him. It was pretty hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. Mike Tyson is so over the top that he just made it work. So these are a nice couple of segments to kick off the show before we get into that first matchup. And for our first match in the night, we got the Young Bucks defending their AEW Tag Team Championships against Pac and Rey Fenix. I like the new look from the Young Bucks. I like the white and the silver. I like the beads on the headband by Matt Jackson. That was a nice little touch. But we see Matt and Pac start off this match, both a lot more methodical, a bit more tempered, really just trying to get under the skin of each other, of course. But we see Nick and Rey Fenix tag into the match, and they just pick up that pace a whole lot, especially with their athleticism. This is eventually capped by dives to the outside by the Death Triangle, taking out both Matt and Nick Jackson, and a lot of lovely little teamwork and double team moves by Pac and Rey Fenix later on in this match as well. But we see the Young Bucks eventually take back control. Nick Jackson hits a nice little springboard face buster, which saw Fenix kind of go up and go limp, and it was like, oh my gosh, did I do that? Oh my gosh, did you see that, bro? We see them work over Rey Fenix for a little bit on in this match, but we see Fenix, he's eventually too quick. He dodges both moves by the Young Bucks and tags in Pac, and he comes in going crazy, just hitting a good array of kicks and a dive to the outside as well. He is eventually chopped down, and it's later on as the referee is distracted. We see both the Young Bucks hit power bombs on both Pac and Rey Fenix on the aprons on the outside. We see the second half of this match was mad bonkers. We see Matt Jackson doing the most, doing his best Ultimate Warrior impression, which was what is what it is. But we do see Pac eventually hit the clothesline, and we see Fenix come into this match, and like when Fenix comes into most matches, everything picks up. We see him hit a nice array of springboard moves and a double cutter on both the Young Bucks. We see eventually Nick Jackson hit a nice little bouncing Canadian destroyer off the ropes. We see as both teams are kind of fighting on the outside, Nick and Rey hit both poison Rondas on both of their opponents. Rey hitting it on Matt Jackson and Nick hitting it on Pac. And then we see as Fenix is thrown over the barricades to the outside, he just jumps it, he clears it, and then he rolls back over and hits a cutter as well. Like this back end was just an awesome array of moves from both teams, definitely. We see as they're fighting back inside the ring, Pac actually hits the black arrow on Matt Jackson, but Nick comes in after being trying to stop by Rey Fenix, and he breaks up that count at 2. But we eventually see the end of this match as they're fighting in the ring. Pac is hit with a low blow, and the ref doesn't see it. He's eventually discarded. Fenix tags into the match as he springboards in. He's hit with a super kick, and they remove his mask and they throw it out, and Fenix is just covering his face. He's like, oh man, oh no. And then he's hit with a double super kick by both the Young Bucks, and they pin him for the 1-2-3 to retain that championship as he's still covering his face from the shame of losing that mask. This was an awesome tag team match to just kick off the show. I thought in my case it went a little tad too long, but the back end of this match was just incredible. It didn't feel like indie style or anything like that. It just felt like both teams just trying to pull out all the stops to go after winning, which was amazing stuff. Heel Matt and Nick Jackson are the best Young Bucks, and they should have been that from jump. I've been waiting for kind of this character to come out, even though they've been extremely inconsistent for the past like 8 months. But I'm glad that they finally settled on something. They're here. They're doing the thing now. They're part of the new elite, and we'll see where they kind of transpire from there, just defending those tag team championships. But awesome match between these 4 men. I wouldn't expect anything less, and Phoenix is a star. He's the best. Let that be known, please. Next up, we have a short interview from the Inner Circle and Mike Tyson, just talking about Jericho's match against Dax Hardwood later on in the night. And pretty much just explaining why Jericho and Tyson are cool now. Jericho's like, man, I made some mistake these past couple years and these months. I've been trying to go back and right these wrongs. And the first person I called was Mike Tyson. So now they're all cool. They're buddy, yay. And I think it was a nice little solid promo from those two. But honestly, Ortiz was staring right at the camera and I was staring right back at him. So I was like, dang, I had my full attention the entire time. That man did not move. But yeah, solid stuff from the Inner Circle and Tyson, of course. But dang, Ortiz's eyes. Jesus. Next up, we do have a grudge match between Red Velvet and Jade Cargill. We see Red Velvet come out the blocks immediately once Jade enters the ring, just throwing them body shots, and that sequence is eventually ended off with the suicide dive to the outside. As they continue fighting outside the ring, Jade kind of takes control. She gets a fallaway slam and throws Velvet over the barricade into the wrestlers or the fans on the outside. As we go into the commercial break, we come back. Red Velvet is starting to make her comeback. She hits a nice little spinning kick and gets a nice little couple clotheslines to boot before hitting a moonsault, only for a 2 count of standing moonsault. And it's at this point, the standing moonsault don't work, so she got to go up top for the top rope moonsault. She goes for that, and she misses, unfortunately. Jade takes control. She grabs her for what she calls Jaded, which is just a glam slam, which is the perfect finisher for her, not gonna lie. You can't get more perfect than that. She hits Jaded, gets her for the 1, 2, 3, and the win for Jade Cargill. This was definitely, I think, her best performance to date, more than likely. Both women played their role extremely well. Jade looks like a freaking superstar. Like, once she gets better in the ring, she is going to be turning heads, not just in AEW, but in wrestling in general. So I'm looking forward to that, and Red Velvet is definitely the consummate babyface in this feud, and she plays her role perfectly as well. So this is a nice little matchup between those two, and looking forward to seeing more from them in the future. Next up, we got a match from the debuting Olympic bronze medal winning boxer Anthony Gogo versus Cole Carter, I believe his name was. But this did not last long. Gogo got out of a waistlock, landed a huge body blow, and Carter crippled over in pain. Like, he was finished, and the ref called for the bell, and that was it. Then they celebrated the ring afterwards. This was a really cool way of just putting over Gogo's punch, and it's just his boxing acumen. Hopefully they be consistent with this and show it over the next couple of weeks and months as he's kind of growing in his craft and stuff like that, that punch is extremely deadly and can end anybody like that. So I hope they're consistent with that, but overall, this is a nice little debut. He's got the look and everything, so I'm definitely looking forward to how they kind of work on him. Next up, we have the match between Chris Jericho with Sami Guevara against Dax Harwood with Cash Wheeler, with Mike Tyson as a special guest enforcer. But we do see this match kick off, and both men are brawling, just going at each other with shots right at the beginning of this match. Both men try to go for weapon shots as well, but Mike is actually doing his job. He's a guest enforcer, so he's taking away those weapons, taking away the chair from Chris Jericho and the Bat Floyd away from Dax Harwood as well. We later see Harwood just throwing some shift shots as well on the outside. Both are eventually fighting over near the commentary table. We see a Mike shot and a pen shot kind of in the thick of everything that's happening. Mike couldn't do nothing about that, unfortunately. We see Harwood throwing Jericho into the barricade a couple times as we go into picture-in-picture. Coming back from picture-in-picture, and we see both men trading chops and shots like crazy. Like, this is really fun. We see Chris Jericho eventually start to make his comeback, which is eventually capped by a lion salt, which he hits only for a 2 count though. We see later on, as they're fighting up top, Dax goes for that diving headbutt off the top rope, but he misses, and Chris thinks on his feet and locks in that walls of Jericho, locks it in. We see Dax moving towards the rope, and as he is, he kind of calls Cash over there. Cash comes and hits Jericho in the head to break up the submission while the ref doesn't see it. Guevara comes over there and just takes out Cash Wheeler on the outside just with shots, as well as Mike Tyson kind of stands bewildered of what's going on. We see eventually a brainbuster by Dax for a 2 count and a codebreaker by Jericho only for a 2 count as well. And it's at this point, right after this codebreaker, all the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle come out on the stage and start brawling. Like everybody comes out of the woodwork and begins beating on each other on the stage. That allows for a bit of a distraction. We see as Cash Wheeler tries to get up on the apron to try to help Dax out a little bit more. Mike Tyson ain't with it. He gets him off the apron and drops him with one shot that was loud as heck. I don't know how to explain it to y'all. Go back and watch that punch. Like, it was fantastic. We see as this match ends, Dax is going for a powerbomb, but Guevara is up on the apron to distract him. Chris Jericho hits a back body drop, hits that Judas effect for the 1, 2, 3, and the win for Chris Jericho. And we see them kind of scur the Pinnacle off as they stand in the ring, and as Mike Tyson is kind of inducted as the honorary member of the Inner Circle, we end the segment off. This is a nice little hard-hitting match between Jericho and Hardwood. I really enjoyed it a lot. Definitely I thought it was the right length for what they were trying to do. Definitely things did hit the fan with the Pinnacle and everybody who was on the outside just doing their thing. It definitely became a car crash in terms of the last like a minute and a half of the match. But outside of that, really two guys that worked really hard. Chris Jericho in his 50s is still doing stuff like this. Like, that is crazy to me. But that was amazing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Blood and Guts come May 5th. Looking forward to it. But yeah, good match between these two, definitely. Next up, we got a match between the returning Chris Statlander versus Amber Nova. Really not much to note about this match at all. A short little squash. Amber did get some nice shots in, but after a roundhouse and the supernova, Chris Statlander puts her away with the 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is a good way to just bring back Chris Statlander. She's aligned with the best friends in Orange Cassidy at the moment, so just a good way to bring her back into the fold, and hopefully she continues to shoot up in this AEW's women's division as well, because it's been doing this thing over the past couple months, bet money. So hoping that she just continues to rise in this division as well now that she's back. Next up, we were supposed to get an interview from Christian Cage. He comes out to the ring, begins to talk, but all of a sudden Team Taz interferes. They got Taz, Powerhouse, Hobbs, and Hook coming out the woodwork, and they're just like, bro, it's been a week. Like, where my answer? Right? Like, we supposed to be buddies. You supposed to be cool. Don't be dodging me. Don't be ghosting me. What are you on? What's up? And Cage is like, hey, I see your group is kind of a dumpster fire, and I don't really rock with that. I don't work well with that. I came here to win titles. I came here to win championships, not be a part of this. And so my answer, after he threw a nice little short joke in there too, was no, ultimately. And Taz just gets upset, and Powerhouse, I was like, bro, I got this. I got this. Puts the mic, he gets in the ring, they kind of face off. He starts to attack. Cage is getting the better hand until Hook interferes, and Powerhouse Hobbs lays him out, continues to pulverize him, and just leaves him laying on the steel steps to end the segment off. This is a nice way to just build a feud between Cage and Team Taz. It's a way to get him out of the world title picture, which was kind of teased once he first arrived. So this is a good way to just get a new feud for him to kind of kick off his run here in AEW rather than just throwing him into the deep water right away. So this is good stuff. I'm looking forward to the match between him and Powerhouse Hobbs next week. It should be a little bit of a barn burner. I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. So yeah, this was good stuff. And last up, in our main event, we got Darby Allin defending the TNT Championship against Matt Hardy. We see the beginning of this match. Matt Hardy has a chair. Once the match kicks off, grabs it from the side of the ring and begins to wail on Darby Allin. Uses that chair for a pretty long time as well, for the good about 4 or 5 minutes of the beginning of this match. He's just utilizing that chair, and Darby hasn't really gotten out the blocks in any way. Matt does eventually go for a twist of fate with the chair wrapped around Darby's neck. But Darby reverses it and begins to fight back. But as soon as he does, Butcher and the Blade and Private Party and the Hardy Party are out to help Matt Hardy kind of gain his bearings and take out Darby Allin. This eventually brings out the Dark Order and Sting to come help Darby Allin, as well as they just rid the ring of everybody. Sting taking out Private Party as well as we go into the break. Coming back from picture in picture, and Darby is finally in control, just doing the work on Matt. But Matt kind of takes it back. He throws Darby over the steel steps on the outside into the barricade. A nice little spot, just showing off the elasticity of Darby Allin as they continue to fight on the outside and around the ring. We see Lance Archer make an appearance as he kind of runs off Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, who also came out the woodwork. He eventually levels Isaiah Cassidy, I believe, of Private Party, and just stares down with Sting, who was still out there as they have their feud brewing. But Lance Archer eventually leaves. Sting hands the bat to Darby Allin as a nice little passing of the torch moment. I wish they would have played up a little bit more of that on commentary, but to each his own. Sting eventually leaves as well. We see Darby with that bat about to go to work, but Matt Hardy hits him with a low blow. He eventually wraps that chair around Darby's neck again and hits that twist of fate, but only for a 2 count. Darby kicks out of that joint, of course. But we do see them eventually fight into the backstage area through the entrance tunnel and all that. Matt Hardy eventually puts Darby Allin on the table, and he sees a ladder, climbs up to about the middle point of that ladder and does a leg drop through that table, but Darby kicks out again because that's a tough brother apparently. They eventually fight back out onto the entrance ramp, and as Matt Hardy is going for another move, Darby reverses it. Now he got the bat. Now he knows what to do. He eventually hits a low blow as well to kind of get payback on Hardy for the low blow from earlier. He goes to work with that bat, levels him, and then he places him on that announcer's table, clears it all off. JR and Tony Schiavone and Excalibur move, and Darby Allin climbs up to the top of the scaffold behind the table and lands that coffin drop from at least like 20 feet for the 1-2-3 and the win, and retaining his TNT championship, and he poses to end the show. That last at least like 5-7 minutes was awesome. That was everything that I was looking for throughout this match. The backstage fighting, the continued endurance of Darby Allin is something that has become his trait really, and just his willingness to do anything and kick out of anything. So that was awesome to see. The last like couple spots in this match through the table, the coffin drop through the table, were incredible. I was apprehensive of how Matt Hardy could pull a good match out of his butt. This was it. Like this is what I wanted to see most definitely. So I'm glad with this match as the main event. Right man won, and Darby Allin retaining that championship in an awesome way to end this night of Wednesday Night Dynamite, baby. All in all, I said I hadn't watched AEW Dynamite in full in a long time, and this was a perfect show to reintroduce myself to everything that's going on. All the matches on this show impressed. The main event, the first match with the AEW Tag Team Championships, even Chris Jericho and Dax Harwood were awesome. The squash matches for Anthony Gogo and Chris Statlander, just continuing to up their stock as well, were awesome as well. Even the stuff that was like furthering feuds on this show, like the Christian and Team Taz stuff, was impressive as well and fun to watch. So everything really came together on this show. I would say there was really a bad moment on this show at all. So I'm looking forward to how everything progresses going into Double or Nothing on May 30th. But yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to next Wednesday and how they continue to really pull everything out their butt, of course. But yeah, that's going to be it from me. You will catch me later on for some more videos. If you like it, like, share, subscribe, the whole nine. Tell your mama, tell your daddy, everybody you know pretty much. You might like wrestling. Go ahead and tell them. But that's going to be it from me. I'm out. Peace. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your Thursday. Everything like that. Catch y'all soon.